It's the MMA parlay, MMA parlay. 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 Dominating bookies, nom they cookies. Dominating bookies, nom they cookies. Dominating bookies, nom they cookies. It's the MMA parlay, MMA parlay. King and fighting guru.
I'm the MMA king and I came for the crown. All your phonies and clowns need to move around, cause I'ma put you in the dirt and have you come out looking brown. But it's okay, don't frown, cause I'm always gonna be around. So listen up, I'm only getting started. This is still the first round. Now I'm back for the second round to spit this verse like it's my MMA knowledge. So by the time I'm done, you all gonna say Fighting Guru must have went to college. While you may be wrong or right, don't fool yourself because you know I can predict a fight. So if you ever want to celebrate with a beer, make sure you lend me an ear. Hello YouTubers, MMA community, my following. I am happy to bring you another freebie segment. These are segments that I'm not going to be doing many of the fights on the upcoming UFC event that's this Saturday. We got Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards event. There's going to be a lot of great fights. It's one of those kind of not so casual, fan friendly. It's more for the hardcores and the guys who really appreciate MMA and go deep into it, that would appreciate this kind of a card. And as far as the betting perspective, remember at the beginning of each segment, I always tell you this is a kind of like last week's event where we did great, had perfect picks. It was one of those cards that if we ran it back, even with the loss that I had on it, I only had one loss if you don't count the disqualification, because everybody knows that Peter Yan was the better pick, was the better fighter who would have won if not for one freak accident, so we can't really count that. But besides that, I had only one loss on the entire card, and also happened to be in the entire history of combat sports, not just UFC, in the history of fighting. This was a fight that they said that in entire, when you count the ratio, the striking differential between the guy who won the fight and the guy who lost the fight, the first time in history, by the largest margin, this was the biggest comeback win in the history of what the numbers projected. I think it was like 170 almost to like 59 or 60, or it was like 170. There was over 100 more strikes landed. And the fight was so lopsided, it got to a point where the referee had to be begged not to stop it by the fighter. The fighter had to tell him repeatedly, I'm okay, I'm okay. In most situations, the referee, like in the Dan Mergladi, a lot of referees, they wouldn't have cared, because the referee's job is to protect you from yourself. So like when Anthony Smith didn't want to throw in the towel, when Jose Aldo against Peter Yan was telling him, I'm okay, he still got pissed. But we knew Peter Yan was just going to pummel him to death. Glover Teixeira was going to, but they kept saying, I'm okay. But the referee's job is to not let you make that decision. That's why he's the referee. So any other night, we would have had a perfect, if it wasn't for the disqualification and it wasn't for the Alberg throwing everything he had, 100, thinking that the referee is going to have to stop it. If Alberg was capable of knowing that this referee was going to let, and the same thing happened in a Medic fight. Thank God, at least we got that one right. Medic had enough gas tank in him. Even the commentators were screaming, stop the fight. This is crazy. This is unnecessary. I don't know if they had a meeting with the referees saying, hey, I want you guys to let these fights go on as long as possible. We don't want like a Nate Landwehr situation where the guy was disputing it. So make sure that if you're going to stop a fight, it's for sure necessary. I don't know if they had a meeting with the referees. This is a big event. We want to make it exciting. Don't stop the fights. It seems like it, because they were at a point where like no other situation I've ever seen happen, and that's why they said it was a record-breaking number. Never in the history has it ever been possible or ever happened where you outlanded your opponent by more than 100-something strikes and lost the fight. It was the first time in the history. So besides that one pick and the disqualification, we went perfect. We had a great event. We made great profits. But the point I'm trying to make here is these events, I have to kind of respect the fact that YouTube, it doesn't pay the bills. Unfortunately, I don't even get a penny. It's actually costly. I have to put time in, which time is money. I take it away from things that I could be getting paid for. So because it's costly, I gotta allocate my time versus costs more wiser, because I could be doing more and making more money if I didn't make more content. So I will be coming out with YouTube, and here's what I'm gonna do to make it up for you so it evens out. I'm not going to be giving you guys the minus 500 favorite breakdowns. I'm not going to get you guys the parlay pieces that everybody else is going with. When I give you guys segments, they'll all be only those fights that everybody else has the wool pulled over their eyes on. The Chandler versus Hooker, the Magny versus Chiesa, the Chanel versus Tyson Nam, the Nathan Manez versus Luke, the Strickland versus Allen, the stuff that I have to usually fight with the Rafael Fizil versus Moicano, the millions of times that everybody else, Alexa Davis versus Mazo, the millions of times that I went against the public and went against the consensus. And for example, Buckley, I even had to make an announcement on Twitter, a freebie Twitter. I said, guys, I'm helping you. Trust me, don't make a mistake. The Koskis that I warned you about, you ignored. Here's another one, the Rodolfo Vieira. I went to even other people's channels and ended up recruiting people without even trying to, and got me blocked from people's channels because I was trying to help them, warn them, hey, Rodolfo Vieira is going to get submitted. He's got the worst takedown attempts. He's very sloppy, bad cardio. He didn't look good at the weigh-ins. Nobody listened. So even got me blocked. But anyway, I'm going to give you those kinds of picks only. So you can, if you're on my channel, you're a loyal follower, you will still get rewarded for your following, for your support, because I'm going to give you the best money-making tips with I'm going to make it more quality over quantity. So I may not give you as many picks, but I did recently give you a full card breakdown. It was another 2-3 weeks ago where I had almost another perfect card, only one wrong, I think. And I think I only had one wrong, and it was in a fight where the guy was dominating. Another situation where the guy won 99% of the fight and lost within 40 seconds left. He would have won a unanimous decision and got submitted with 40 seconds left by Cuban Missile Crisis. He was losing that fight until the last 40 seconds, and he found the submission after the guy gassed out. So nobody can fault me for picking the guy who won 99% of the fight, right? But besides that, we had a card that was perfect, and I gave you a full breakdown. So this is now going to have to change, because what are my patrons paying for? I got 177 members paying me monthly to get stuff that I don't offer anywhere else. So if I start offering it everywhere else, not only will I not get paid on YouTube, I won't get paid anywhere. So I've made the transition to doing this full time. I got to be smarter with my time. I apologize for that. But the good news is I'm going to give you guys an underdog today who should be the favorite. And let's talk about why he should be the favorite. Dan 50K Ige. Let's talk about his record, first of all. This is not a correct, accurate record. Like when I told you Pantoja's record was wrong and he should have been the favorite against Manel Cape, guess what? The underdog prevailed and he beat Manel Cape. So this is similar. If they did the record correctly, Dan Ige would be 12 wins and 5 losses instead of 14-3. If you don't believe me, go back to the last win, Barboza. 1 minute left, 40 seconds left of the last round. Paul Felder, one of the commentators, who wasn't the first one to say this, by the way, but the last person, so you don't have to waste time going back into the fight. Just go to the last minute of the last round. Even Felder was like, all right, well, everybody, we have him down 2 rounds, so this is the smartest thing that Barboza could do is just hang on, because he knows he's up on the scorecards, and then if he just hangs on, this will be an easy unanimous decision. Not only was this fight not close, because I myself was watching and scoring it. This is what I do. And the other commentator, who's a fighter, who knows how scoring and judging works, also said that it was a unanimous decision, and that Ige was down 2-0. And if you're down 2, and it was clear, the first round, they scored a knockdown. Barboza knocked him down. The second round, damage and knockdown and control time and takedowns. Not even close. The third round, they didn't even count. There was a body shot that took him down, and they didn't even count it as a knockdown. That's how you knew something was happening. But let me tell you how I saw these things. I knew this is a kind of a fight that they're not going to give it to Barboza. Barboza did him a favor. It was his debut fight. This is not a division he's going to make the rankings. This is his first fight and only fight at the time at featherweight. So this is not a division that he cares about. And he's at the end of his career. This guy's a guy who's been talking about wanting to retire against a guy who's very fan-friendly style, who they love to see doing well because the fans love him. He's got an entertaining style. He's very exciting. So obviously it's going to go to a guy like that if it's a close fight, right? But it wasn't even a close fight. Everything was in the favor. Even the commentators were late to the party to find out. They didn't get the memo about this was going to be a robbery, but it wasn't even close. Funny thing is, with the Bektik fight, same thing. Another split decision that wasn't supposed to be close. I mean, that one was a little bit closer. I'll give you that. It was a little bit closer. And a guy like Bektik, he's such a boring fighter. He doesn't want to do. He's not quite the opposite. That definitely didn't surprise me. But these make the difference in value. Right now, the value that we're getting a guy like Gavin Tucker, who's only got one loss on his record, and in his most recent fight, he's looked like a world beater. He's looking better than ever. And everybody can say these rumors. These are rumors like he looked, if he couldn't barely get past a Billy Quarantillo. That's because you guys got the recent memory of Billy Quarantillo, who went against, who did Billy Quarantillo fight against last? Hold on, that he looked very, very bad. But that was not the same Billy Quarantillo. Let's see. Billy Quarantillo had fought against Gavin Tucker. Besides Gavin Tucker, it looks like before that. Oh yeah, Spike Carlisle. That was the Spike. That was not the same Billy Quarantillo that we saw in the Spike Carlisle fight, for example. Even the Kyle Nelson, but the Spike Carlisle, because Nelson, it was a quick fight. We couldn't really see much, but so it was deceiving. We didn't know where he was at. But the Gavin Tucker that beat Billy Quarantillo was one of the, he was at his best. I think he's still getting better, but he's still in his prime. He's in the best years of his life. But the Billy Quarantillo that he faced that day was the best version of Billy Q I've ever seen in my life. Nowhere near the same Billy Q that we saw against. Who was that? The Billy Q that we saw in the Spark Carlisle fight was a Billy Q who was very respected. Like that guy, he held a great account of himself. He was very impressive. But why is this not showing me? That's interesting that it's not showing me. I know one of the fights is not up here. 1 second. But yeah, anyway, long story short, my whole point I was trying to get to is Billy Quarantillo was a guy who was not the same one that we seen in his most recent loss. So he is better than what we. What I'm trying to say, I'm sorry, it's not coming off right. What I'm trying to is he's much better than he looked like in his most recent loss. That was not the same Billy Q that we saw when he was fighting against Gavin Tucker or when he was fighting against Spike Carlisle. So that's a false rumor. Another one that they were saying is, what's the other rumor I was hearing people say about Gavin Tucker? The 5-inch reach, this is not going to be an issue. This is MMA. It's not a boxing match. 5-inch reach. Look, how much good did Chandler's 10-inch reach advantage do? Or, this reach advantages are very small, essentially, but it comes in handy when you got a novice, a fighter who's like on the rookies or regional scenes, like those amateurs, like rookie level fighters. It could play a big factor, or a guy who's like just really heavy on points, a point fighter, but not a guy like this. This is not that type of a fight that'll hold much water on. But actually quite the contrary, because this style matchup plays great into the favor of his opponent, Gavin Tucker. Dan Ige is a type of style of a fighter who relies not on so much technique. It's more strength and gritty, like tough. He likes to bring the dog out and kind of like be a tough, like make it a dirty, tough fight. That's going to be in the favor of his opponent. His opponent is the stronger, bigger, more technical fighter. So if you're going to put him in, you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to have to see who's going to be the more technical, the better, more kind of better grappler. Like the mistakes that we were seeing him make in his Bektik fight, Gavin would have never made. Or if we had seen a guy like Tucker in the same positions that we seen on the top position that we seen Bektik raining down ground and pound on him and on Ige, that same positioning, that same stuff that Ige lost to a Bektik who's no Tucker would have. And speaking of that comparison, here's another huge advantage. Bektik's trainer, the guy who he was coached by and who he was cornered by, do you guys remember who that was? None other than one of the greatest minds of the sport, for the same person who's responsible for being a part of the great success, one of the greatest of all time, GSP, George St. Pierre. His coach, his trainer, is the same guy who trained Bektik, who got the win. I don't care what the papers say, Bektik won 2 out of 3 rounds, 2.5. So he should have won that fight, but the split decision went in the other way. So even though one judge did give it to Bektik, it's a lot to do. So now this is the second time recent that we're going to see Zahabi. He's already trained to beat Dan Ige, except this time, not only does he have more knowledge and have more expertise, know the game plan, know the downsides, know the upsides of his strategy, what he does good, what he does bad, his weak spots, but he's got a better tool. It's like you've already done the job before. It's not the first time doing the job. You're doing the job for the second time, but now you're using fancier, sharper, stronger, better tools. And the reason that he got those split decision upsets is both times he was the underdog. They're not going to give him a robbery as a favorite. They're not crazy. They're not going to ruin parlays. Everybody's on the side. Even my own patrons, when I picked, my patrons got it first. That's the part of the benefit of being in a patron. My patrons got this pick. My own patrons were questioning me. You're going to pick Dan Ige to lose against Gavin Tucker? That just shows the perception that the casuals, with all due respect, these are people who are hardworking people. They pay me not because they're stupid. There's no shame in having to pay a guy whose only job now, thank goodness to all the great people in my club who I appreciate, this is my only job. While you guys are having to support a family and work a 9 to 5 and you have your social life, I've sacrificed it all, guys. I quit $100,000 paying job. And you guys saw it. I flashed money. I flashed a lot of proof that before I even started this Patreon, I was very successful. And I can still show you even more proof because I'm still technically officially an employee. I'm not even off the payroll yet because that's sort of a good job it was. I'm still technically able to milk my benefits. When you're at a place for so long, I was there for years. They don't just let you go without giving you the benefits, paying you your sick days and all that good stuff. So I'm still getting paid for that, but I don't have to be there and I don't have to do the job. But anyways, my point was these people are all under recency bias and what the consensus is. Like 93% of voters, 4,000 votes, 92 or 93% pick Buckley over Alessio De Chirico. I knew for Ponzinibbio against Li Jingling, who I told you guys was going to be one of the best dogs of the card, who I told you for many reasons should have been or could have been the favorite, if not for so many reasons I had mentioned: the age, the time off, the surgeries, the list of opponents who are kind of fades and has-beens and guys who are not even in the UFC anymore. So he had a good resume and a good win streak, but if you really dissected it and went deeper, I said Ponzinibbio is not really who you guys think he is. And a guy who's as gritty, as strong, and as hungry as his opponent, this was a moment that it was either dog or pass, but I would recommend the dog. And I made a million posts about it, and people argued with me. But at least now, if you look, if after winning money back to weeks, like we've hardly ever had a bad week even, and even on our bad weeks, we profit or break even at worst. We've only had it happen like once. Now, even those guys are starting to say, I'm blindly trusting you, and they're making money. So I'm not seeing it as much anymore. Funny thing is, I'm growing. I'm way larger of a community and group, and it was happening when I had like 30 members, 50 members, more often than it's happening now. I have 200 members. That's like I've grown to triple the amount or more, and nobody's questioning me anymore. I think they've come to the realization that I know what I'm talking about. And that's no fault to you guys. You guys have jobs. You guys have families, a social life. Leave it up to me to have to sacrifice that so you don't. Guys like Dan Ige, okay, I respect him. I think he's a good fighter. He comes out of, he trained out of Extreme Couture. It's a good gym for a while. You're not the best gyms, but he is responsible for guys like Court McGee and stuff. So it's respectable. They're the famous Grandy Couture, responsible for helping those that club grow. But Gavin Tucker's a different animal, guys. He's underrated. He's the definition of underrated. They call him the governor. The governor is just besides a loss to a guy like, if we take away the loss to Rick Glenn, which was a great, he wasn't himself that day, but also just Rick Glenn's a machine, man. A guy's a nonstop. You got to hit him with a semi truck and reverse it over him again and again and again to stop that guy. So there's no shame in that. But if he took that out, he would be on. If you include his regional scenes, especially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This guy's on a 13-fight win streak. And let's also think about this, okay? Ige, until his most recent fights, until his last 3 fights, which he should be 0-3 right now. If you take Bektik's robbery, split decision, one judge, let's just take one judge on his last 3 fights. Calvin Kattar, unanimous decision lost. Edson Barbosa, one of the biggest robberies I've ever seen. Not even close. It shouldn't have even been a split decision. Like the 2 commentators on the panel during that fight both said unanimous decision win for Barbosa. So I'm not the only one. I have no reason to be biased. So take that. He should be, the first time they gave him a step up in competition was Mirsad Bektik. Before that, Cans. Nobody. Who does he have? Danny Henry. Okay, that guy's on a 2-fight losing streak, and he's looking like he's not going to be okay. After that, who was it? So 2-fight losing streak, a guy who nobody's ever heard of, right? Okay, Kevin Aguilar, 3-fight losing streak, and before that, there were guys like who are. I think he even had one on his retirement. Who's that other guy there? He just fought. It was before that. It was his retirement fight. And like 2 of his most recent wins before that were guys who haven't fought since that. Those were their last fights. So if you take away his cans, he's 0-3. He shouldn't have. But right now on paper, he was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was he's 6 out of 7. He's got 6 wins out of 7. So the value is great. They're undervaluing Tucker, who's always been undervalued. He's always been coming into fights where he should have been a favorite. Justin James was a favorite. My fade of the week twice, Justin Guitar Hero James, I think was a favorite, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. All right, let's see here. I know that he was, if not a favorite, it was at least a pick'ems. Guys, this guy's not even had a win besides that Camacho, which Camacho, we know where he is in his career, and it was a one lucky punch. Besides that, the guy's lost all his fights badly in the first round. Came in as a freaking favorite against Gavin Tucker, who's trained and coached by one of the best minds, the same guys responsible for GSP. Let me remind you, a guy who's already had a fighter win against 50K Ige. So that's another huge advantage. These are things you got to remember. These are things that you got to look at the outside circumstances, not just what's happening in the fight. If you want to bet and you want to be successful, you got to look at everything, the big picture. So let's see here. Gavin Tucker. Perfect. See, look at that. Underdog, and so I guess he was the favorite. I'm sorry. I don't know what made me think. Maybe it was the Billy Q. I confused it because he was just a barely. Yeah. So it was Billy Q. They made him a plus 120. So he pretty much controlled that whole fight. It was an impressive win, and again, it was against the best version of Billy Q. I think, in my opinion, because he's a guy who's overrated. He's quite the opposite. The people always thought he was way better than he is. And unless he was fighting against a can or a fade, I would never want to trust money on a guy like that. He doesn't have good cardio. He doesn't pace himself. He doesn't have good IQ. His selection. He's very similar to, which is why I'm not surprised they matched him with Spike Carlyle. He's similar to Spike Carlyle in how he makes decisions, like where Spike Carlyle had to walk away with 5 seconds left in the clock and he ended up getting punched in the back of the head. He makes decisions like that. So, all right, guys. So you got my pick. I'm gonna do single. I will still come with more picks for this, but this is a small card. There's not that many fights, and one just dropped out. The Ben Rothwell fights just dropped. You already have my pick for the Angela Hill fight in my previous segments. I've dissected that one. And so now you got another pick in my older segments you can get. But since we're on the verge of talking about underdogs, I'll give you one more, okay? Jason Witt versus Matthew Semelsberger. So now you got 2 double value underdogs. Imagine if you just parlay these guys, 3 parlays. Angela Hill, I already gave you the thing. Matthew to lose against Jason Witt, who's still at an underdog value, plus 110 right now. Now, Matthew Semelsberger is a guy they brought in during the pandemic era. This is a guy who's not UFC caliber, and even against a guy who looked so bad. If you guys remember, my fade of the week was Carlton Minus against Christian Gorgios, the Spartan, I think, or Gladiator, whatever they call him. He came in like a 2-day short notice replacement and dominated him, controlled him from every second. And remember what I said in the lead up during my breakdown? I said, if there was ever the biggest fade in the history of fades I can give you guys, it was Carlton. I said, if you guys gave me a women's MMA fight, a fade in women's MMA versus him, I could probably still go with the women's MMA. And that's no respect. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a cool guy. He's very nice. I respect all fighters. I don't mean it in a disrespectful way at all. I'm just saying, as far as like betting perspectives, he's the biggest fade of the history of fades. These are guys that they only bring into the UFC to make other people look good, or to use as replacement fighters, or during the COVID era where people are dropping out or afraid to fight. So they had to put a guy who was a favorite. Carlton Minus was a favorite against Matthew Hemmings, his debut fight. I made a lot of money on Matthew just from research and fight study tapes. Tape studies is my best friend. That's all day long. I'm doing tape studies. So I know when I put 2 people together, I can tell you what's going to happen. There's no way I'm going to get a fight wrong. If I get it wrong, I'll get it wrong because of something weird. Like, they were winning until they couldn't fight anymore. They gassed out, or the robbery or disqualification. Like, that stuff you can't predict, guys. You can't predict when somebody's going to blow their tank. But before they blow their tank, I can tell you what would happen exactly and precisely. I mean, nobody can blow that. I mean, nobody can predict that somebody who fought in kickboxing fights where he went 5 rounds. I've seen him go way more than 3 rounds and win fights, and not gas out. How can anybody predict that he would gas out? So besides that, and he was one of the biggest mismatches on the card. There's no other fight on that card where you've seen that big of a mismatch. Or that big of a differential in strikes, where one guy literally went an entire round not even striking back. He just covered up and accepted getting beat up. If that's the kind of a guy you want to put money on, a guy who has to depend on somebody burning out to win, he can't win the fight without the other guy not being capable of fighting back. That's not a freaking, that's a fade. That's the definition of a fade. He can't rely on skills. He's got to rely on somebody gassing out. And imagine if he wanted to be safe, just kept his hands up and just outpointed him. Didn't want to take his head off. The guy would have been 10-8 rounds every round. He didn't even come close to winning any of those rounds. So if that's not a fade, I mean, what is a fade then? A guy who cannot win a round and gets 10-8 rounded and tripled in numbers? I mean, what more better definition of a fade is that? All right. So you guys got two underdogs. Jason Witt's style is perfect. He's going to be able to take this guy. We're seeing a resurgence. Right now, we got to take advantage of Jason Witt at where he is. They're evaluating him at the way he used to be back years ago or before he made it to the UFC. Sometimes when you give a guy a chance on the big stage, when you put him in a spotlight and give him an incentive to perform well, give him something, a position. Sometimes it takes giving a promotion to see a guy work at his best. He's got promoted to the UFC. Back in the regional scene, he wasn't the same guy. And you can even see the difference in his physicality. He looks better. He's moving better. He's making better decisions. And he's just a way more improved fighter, but they're still valuing him at the old Jason Witt value. So, and he's still at a pick'ems. It's not like he's a big underdog. So let's see. I think they opened him up at. Oh wow! So they're really putting no respect. I mean, who do you guys even know anything about this? Him besides beating the biggest fade, and he didn't even beat him. It was actually pretty weird how long it took him to win that fight. I was very disappointed. I thought he was gonna just make easy work out of Carlton Minus, who we seen get dominated, and that was even Carlton Minus's worst performance. So you got a fade on his worst day, and you didn't really make a field day out of him. You kind of had back and forth moments. Very, very unusual, but goes to say that just because a fade can beat another fade doesn't make him worthy of being a favorite against a guy who's not a fade. You can't say he's a fade. He's not your, Jason Witt will never be a champion. He'll never be top 3, maybe not even top 5, maybe not even top 10, but he'll be top 20, top 15. He's not a fade. He's low level, but he's not even the lowest of the low level. Like, there are lower level fighters that are going to be in his division. So he'll win fights. These are the types of fights that he's going to win, if there's any. They didn't give him the respect either against... all right, let's see. What did he open up against his last day? I think it was Cole... I forgot his name. Cole Williams, I think. When I remember making a read. I was always on the side of Jason Witt in that fight against Cole Williams, I think his name was. But when I saw the weigh-in face-offs, the way he missed pounds, missed weight, the way he looked, his confidence level, his energy level, I was all in on that. This guy made me a lot of money, guys. A lot of money on that fight. It was a total, and it happened just exactly how I expected it to, inside the distance, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. It says here... Okay, here we go. Sorry for the delay. Jason Witt in his last fight, see, even against Cole Williams, he was opened as a plus 125. So it goes to show. Another example of these people not learning from their mistakes and not learning from their lessons, or they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. They're trying to tell you guys, and I told you this is a season of underdogs months ago. I remember making posts and videos and comments on other people's sections and videos saying everybody's going to be in for a surprise. This is going to be where all these underdogs are going to be pulling upsets that should have been rightful favorites, that odd makers are going to be messing it up big time. And I didn't know if it was, I think it has a lot to do with it. I don't want to get into it, but politics. MMA is not like a different sport where it takes 20 different variables and players on a team to make like in any other sport, you cannot hit 12, 14 leg parlays. It's impossible. It's hard enough to do a 2-leg or a 3-leg parlay. They'll tell you, the casinos and the bookies will say parlays are for suckers. And they're right. But MMA, you're only depending on one guy to do what he's supposed to do. It's different. You could make those kind of parlays work if you're fighting guru and you got my type of expertise. So they have to pull, they have a guy like me at the casinos telling them what to do. Like, hey, look, if we make this guy a big favorite, it's going to make everybody want to pick him. We're going to lose a lot of money. But so they have their own tricks to fool handicappers, to like the Louis Koskis. Louis Koski on his debut fight, -600, biggest favorite of the card. Why? He wasn't fighting a can. Sasha, whatever his name was, I did my research. That guy was, I told you in my breakdown video, he's very dangerous, especially in the first round. He's a very durable guy. He's got the reach advantage. He's a bigger, stronger guy. Made no sense for him to be a favorite, hardly even. Nonetheless, a -500, and that's why I always tell you guys, those are the ones you got to be careful of. The bigger favorites are not as good as the smaller favorites or underdogs sometimes, the Beneil Dariushas and so many others. All right, so you guys got so many picks already, guys. I'm making it up in quality versus quantity. So I gave you 2 underdogs and a guaranteed favorite. You got 3 picks. You put them together, you're getting like 6 times your money back. You put $100. What is that? Let me see. You guys want me to do it for you? Want me to tell you what that parlay pays out right now? All right. As of this moment, if you were to parlay those 3 fights alone, just those 3 fights that I've given you, we've got, I'll do a recap. We've got Jason Witt beating Matthew Semelsberger. We've got Gavin Tucker beating Dan Ige. This site doesn't have it. Just those 2 alone are paying almost 3-1. Angela Hill and Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker and Angela Hill alone are paying 3-1 in a parlay. All right, let's see, because this one didn't have it. Let me try this other site so I can give you because missing one of the underdogs. That's a big difference. I want to give you guys the actual odds on this. All right, so and I'm also doing a special, guys. If you guys are interested in joining the Patreon this week, like the last time I did this, I had done a special. I had given you guys a money back guarantee, and my parlay cashed in. Thank goodness. I did this a few times, and I've always gotten fortunate enough to not miss these parlays. But I'm going to give you a parlay. When you join, as soon as you join, I give you a parlay. If the parlay does not cash in, I can return your wager back or your 1 month up to 1 month. So if you're a $150 patron, you're a $100 patron, a $10 a $50 patron. Well, it doesn't work for the $10 tier because you don't get bet slips, and that's part of the bet slips. But the other tiers, the other 3 tiers, I'll give you 100% full refund if it doesn't hit. It's a money back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. If it cashes in, you win your money back for the membership anyways, because it's a good paying plus money parlay. So you're going to get double your money or more on if it cashed in. If it doesn't cash in, you're taking a risk-free bet. So if you play it and it doesn't cash in, I give you your money back in full, same day. Risk-free, guys. What else can you do? How can you beat that? Nobody can complain about no matter what happens. That's how confident I am in my work, guys. Would anybody else do that and not have to pay for it? Last time it was Devontae Smith, Timur Valov, and one other person. I forgot who it was. It was a 3-leg parlay, cashed in. Justin James lost, as usual. My fate of the week lost. His eyes got really bad. I think they had to stop the fight. And Timur Valiev redeemed himself. By the way, you're welcome for anybody who listened to my posts and also my pick for the Bautista fight. I told you guys that was the Koski, the Rodolfo Vieira of that card. Well, I said a guy who can't. I even made a post saying that if you don't implement a wrestling heavy game, a strategy is not going to be to wrestle with this guy. This guy's got the equalizer. It's going to take one punch to take your lights out. And Bautista is going to want to stand on the feet and strike with Trevin Jones the entire time. Even a guy like Timur Valiev, who wasn't trying to stand up and strike with him, ended up getting caught. So you're telling me a guy like Bautista, who we've seen take a lot of punishment from other guys in the past, you think that it was inevitable that was going to happen. He was not on one bet slip. Everybody else's, go back and go watch all the other channels. Go to the timestamps for Bautista fight. Show me one other person that picked against Bautista. He was everybody else's most confident picks. I do this on every fight, guys. I don't listen to the odds. I don't listen to what anybody else says about anything about it. My picks are from my mind and my heart. There's nothing better than that. All right, so let's go back to the 3-leg parlay. The 3-leg parlay, Matthew losing to Jason, who's still an underdog. We've got Angela Hill, Gavin Tucker. Okay, 3. This one is paying 5-1. So for 100, you get 489. So $10 shy. It's 4.90. Rounded up to 5. 5-1, guys. I'm giving you 5 times your money back for free. So please, the least you can do is hit the like, hit the reminder. It's the effort. Even if something weird happens, I give you a good win, lose, or draw, not just because of value either. I'm not those guys that tells you to pick somebody because of the value. I give you thorough explanations on why one guy should be the favorite. He's got the coach. He's got the strategy. He's got the strength. He's got the better techniques. He's got a whole bunch of reasons why he should be the better record. And so the ones that, and now he's for political reasons, he's the underdog. So if anybody's going to get robbed, it's not going to be the guy who's an underdog. So a lot of reasons, win, lose, or draw, this was the smarter bet. I could do it for every fight. Matthew Semelsberger, guys, if you don't know anything about this guy, besides against the Can, who he did not look impressive against, he should have done a much better job. As you guys seen what a guy who on 1 or 2 days short notice was able to do with him. But Matthew Semelsberger, let's give you guys a quick synopsis breakdown of a long story short. This is a guy who, before making it to the UFC, he had already got 2 losses in the regional scene, and both times were finished. He was finished and put away in 2 of his fights in the regional scenes alone. So, and let's not forget about the KO in the before he got to the professional level on his amateur record. He was put out in the second round, 2 minutes. So he's got 3 losses. Nobody else will probably even know about the third one because it's not on his professional record. On his record, in his professional record that you see on the UFC's website and everywhere else, it only has 2 losses. He's got 3 losses. The third one was by knockout as well. So his first fight ever, the first time he's ever fought amateur, he got knocked out in the second round. And, it was there's nothing to be ashamed of. It was a guy who I'm very high on, to be quite honest, but still. Okay, and Darren Costa in a regional group, this guy was 5-4. A guy with a 5-4 record, 5 wins and 4 losses. Never won a decision in his life, was able to win and not only beat him, but submit him. Darren Costa, and this is a guy who's not like a big submission specialist. He's won most of the recent fight. Like, for example, this was in 2018 against the Nobody. He won by TKO. So he lost to this guy by submission. Okay, that just shows that he's not, And then after that to Jerome. Jerome Featherstone was 1-1. He lost to a guy that had a record of 1-1. And Matthew Semelsberger lost against him. So, I don't know how he could be a favorite against a guy like Jason Witt, who's like, in his older organizations, this guy was like a champion level fighter. He was very high level in the lower levels. And against the highest level right now and the highest platform, he's not so bad. Like, again, he'll never be the top of the echelons, but he can hold his own, man. And right now, he's looking better than ever in his career. This is the best version of him. He's made some adjustments, improvements on his game. His cardio is great. This guy's a machine. All rounds, if you put him in a 5-round fight, up until the last minute at a high pace volume fight from the start to the finish, he'll still be throwing crazy volume. Matthew Semelsberger is quite the opposite. He'll gas out quickly. And we've seen what that can do. All right, so since Carlton Minus, he has not done much. Before Carlton Minus, he fought a guy who has not fought ever since, and he beat him in the first round because he's got a record of 8-6. So this is a guy who's got 8-6 record, and that was the last time he's ever fought, and he lost, and since then he's never fought again. So it's not a guy who's a big, serious contender, nothing to go run home and brag to the mom, And so let's go one more after that, okay? Before that, he won against a guy who was 3-3. His record doesn't even have a portfolio. He doesn't even have a profile. That's how serious he takes his career. He's never even uploaded an image. This is a guy who doesn't ever plan on fighting. I don't know what made him do it that day, but he fought against Semelsberger, and guess what? Since then, he's never fought again. That was his last fight. Since then, it's been 2 years almost now, 2.5, 3 years, hasn't fought. Matthew was his last fight, retirement fight. So nothing, this is a guy who's a definition of a fade. This is a fade if I've ever seen one, and now he's a favorite against a guy who's got more losses, and he's got a good record, 18-6. He's got more, let's see, Jason Witt has more submissions. Just submissions. He's got more submissions wins than his opponent, who's the favorite, has wins, period. And let's look. He's got, besides the TKO against Sato, Sato, anybody can get caught by that guy. Everybody was taking Sato against Beza. Beza is one of the best prospects. People were siding with Sato against Beza. So that's no shame in that. But if you take that out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he was on a 5-fight win streak and impressive wins against guys that were not the same level. Like 18 wins and 12 losses. A guy who's got 18 wins, 15 by finishes. Zach Busia, they call him Crash. That's one of the wins he had in his last 5. Let's see who else. So, we don't got to go, but just take my word on it. I do enough research. I don't have to overkill this breakdown, but the win, loser, draw, for many reasons, value, everything you can imagine, Jason Witt is the correct person to bet on. If you're looking just for the right picks, that's the right pick. Vanilla Gorilla trains out of Glory MMA for a while. Pretty impressive overall well-rounded. This is one I also would love to pay attention. I would recommend paying very close attention to the weigh-ins. The scales, the weigh-ins, and the face-offs is a very important fight. But no matter what, I don't see myself switching off this. I will be making observations afterwards just in case, but this is the right pick. Jason Witt, especially at the value as an underdog. But money is coming in fast, so don't wait any longer. If I was you, I'd make that parlay I gave you 5-1. And ask if you're interested. Please hit the like and the comments, subscribe, the reminder bells. And comments are very important. So if you want to repay me back for the time I'm spending here, that would be great. And join the Patreon if you were ever going to do it. This is the best time to do it. We got a lot of fights coming up, a lot of ways to make money in between fights that I'm doing now, and outside MMA predictions and picks, and it's been paying off great. And also I'm giving them money back guarantee special, so it is very rare. I don't do it too often, and it's going to expire. It's only for a limited time until the next 24 to 48 hours. And then you got a great team. It's a community of 200 sharp-minded MMA guys. So if I ever miss anything, if I ever didn't see anything or catch anything, they remind me and tell me about it right away. So you're paying for 200 specialists, MMA sharp minds, to be assisting you in making the best picks. Thank you guys. I appreciate your support, your time. Please hit the like, hit the reminder, leave a comment, and help my channel grow. I need to get to 200. I need about 100 something more subscribers, and we can do smart chats. That means I'll be doing, if you guys want to see me doing live segments every day, every other day, because we get super chat at 1,000 subscribers. So if you want more content, get me to 1,000 subscribers, and I will be able to start giving you daily content. Also, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. My link is in the description, as well as my Patreon link. So you can see more content, and you would have caught things like the post I made about Buckley and Rodolfo Vieira. You would have not been suckered into those big parlay pieces that every parlay ruiners. All right, guys, thanks. Enjoy the rest of your day.